here with the amazing Joel Brown. Joel is the creator of Addicted2Success.com, which is one of the world's largest self-development websites. It's had over 52 million views. And Joel also has started the Addicted to Success podcast, which is an amazing podcast. He links in with self-development leaders from all around the world: Tony Robbins, Gabby Bernstein, Gary Vee, Dr. John Demartini, all the amazing people that you'd love to learn from. And we are lucky enough to have Joel speaking with us today. So we'll jump straight into it. Joel, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate having you on the call with us.
Renee, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I love that you're helping female entrepreneurs to maximize their business. It's really awesome to see. You know, I feel like I've had this conversation quite often with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I feel like women throughout history have been a little bit suppressed when it comes to business. And so I love what's happening now in the world, where a lot of them are coming together and really ramping things up. So, you know, any advice I can share, any wisdom I can instill, like, I'm more than happy to go in with your audience. And I just really appreciate you inviting me in on your show. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks so much, Joel. Yeah, it's definitely an area that I'm really passionate about, is helping women to step into that space and that greater leadership space. So I'm sure you'll have some amazing insights that will be incredible for our women to hear. So thanks so much. So I'll jump straight in, and I'd just love to know, firstly, you started Addicted2Success.com a few years ago now. It was in 2011. So
yeah,
a little while ago. What inspired you originally to start it?
There were a few things. There was a pivotal moment in my life where I used to work in the music industry. So I left the music industry. Everyone thought I was crazy. I was in the studio with people like Kelly Rowland, and there was, you know, Pharrell and Usher and a lot of really talented people. And there was a lot of the glitz and the glamour going on. But I didn't feel complete. I felt like something was missing, and I was sick of playing in the background. I wanted to build something myself. You know, the inner entrepreneur in me was like screaming out. My soul was screaming out for something deeper. So I threw in the towel and I left. You know, for once in my life, I threw in the towel and gave up on something. And it was scary, to be honest. I felt there was a lot of uncertainty. I felt like, you know, have I made a mistake? Am I going to regret this? I went through all those thoughts, you know, and I got into a place where friends, family, and, you know, even, you know, mom and dad were kind of questioning, are you sure? Are you sure that was a good move? And so I was sitting with it going, no, I think there's something really here. Like, I could feel it. There's this gut feeling, right? Which I like to call like the whispers of wisdom, right? It's a little like tap on the shoulder. It's there. It's going, there's something more here. So I pursued self-development a lot more. I was kind of dabbling in it over the years, but I really went deep with it, reading Tony Robbins books and Brian Tracy and Stephen Covey and all the greats. And I was working in a sales company, and I got promoted about 5 times in the company over the space of a year. I was getting really good at it. This is in Perth in Western Australia, actually. And the CEO of the company invited a guy by the name of Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, into this event to teach us sales. Yeah. So anyway, I'm sitting in the room, and he asked me, you know, Joel, do you have a goal? And he kind of struck me with that question, because I didn't really have a goal. Like, I read a lot about goals in these self-development books, and to sit and write anything down really reminded me of schoolwork. And I hated school. I dropped out of high school. I dropped out of year 11. You know, I'm a high school dropout. So I just had this, you know, this feeling that if I'm writing anything down, it just feels like work, and it felt like off to me. But he challenged me. You know, he's like, if you don't have goals, he said, at least write a vision. And so he really challenged me to cast a vision. I casted a 10-year vision that day. And he asked me, you know, what are you good at? What do you love? And what solution are you bringing to the world? You know, in the present tense of, like, if I was to be living right now in that 10th year, what would that look like? And I just got really clear. I mapped it all out. I wrote it out. I discovered my values, my top values. I got very clear on what it is that I do and don't want in my life. My vision started disciplining me. And part of my vision was to create a hub to inspire other people that were like-minded to me, that were striving for something more out of life, that wanted to learn more about achieving success. And so that was the day I birthed the idea of Addicted to Success. In my 10-year vision, I had I mapped out to reach 10 million views worldwide. It was like publish a book and have more than 10,000 copies sold, and speak at an event with Tony Robbins. Like, all of these things I've totally crossed off my list now. So 6.5 years in, I'm already living in my 10-year vision. We reached 120 million views worldwide on Addicted to Success recently. And, I'm in a movie with Tony Robbins, and, just like I've grown the company to heights that I've never expected. And it's because I've been living in my vision for the last 6.5 years. It's like, the vision is powerful. It's everything when it comes to success.
I love that. I so love that. One of the key things that I heard from when you were speaking then was about how you listened to that inner voice inside. You had that deeper calling and something that you had to follow. Yeah. And that's what led you. That's amazing. And it's definitely something I hear from a lot of the big leaders, and also a lot of the women in our group. They say that, they feel like there's something more inside them. And that's where our true power lies, I feel, is really tapping into that, whether, you call it the universe or that little voice, that small voice inside. And that's what gives us our greatest power. I love that. And
and to add to that, like, for me, it's like, I look at it in a very different way to how I did before. I was just kind of like, it was this nagging, it like wouldn't go away, and it was a restless thing. Now I'm very in tune with it. I call it the green light from God, right? It's just like, go, Joel, go. Like, now it's time to go. Don't stop. Don't pause. Like, now is time, right? And what I've discovered too is, like, that feeling of, I've got to go after this. Hardly ever is it that immediate thing that you think you're going for. It's usually what comes after that, or even like 2 or 3 layers deep. So certain goals that I had where I was like, I've got to go to this, I realized that was just a door to open up to another area that I was supposed to go to. Even this self-development speaking, I don't know if this is the final round. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is it and I just stay in it for the rest of my life. Who knows? But I'm totally open to the idea that I'm going to get a calling to move into whatever space I need to be in. And that's your purpose,
Yeah, staying open to those creative possibilities.
Right.
Cool. I love that. So in the work that you do, you obviously get to interview a lot of these amazing leaders, and you get to hang out with really awesome people. There's Gabby Bernstein, Gary Vee, Dr. John Demartini. I saw you had dinner with him the other night, and all these really incredible people that you get to speak to for your show. I'm just wondering, is there like a common theme that you've heard, that you've noticed come through around, building a solid self-belief and that success mindset? Like, for you, has there been a key takeaway that you've taken from these different people that's been consistent throughout?
Yeah, there's quite a few consistencies. I'd say, because when I'm asking questions, I'm also listening to what's underneath that answer itself, and just looking for patterns. There are a few. I base a lot of my coaching off the findings that I've discovered after interviewing more than 100 successful people. And what I found was, I use it as a template in my coaching, and I call it the 4 dimensions of success, right? And there's your values, first and foremost, which is like your compass for life. You got your beliefs, you got your habits, and you got your skills. So beliefs, habits, and skills are ready, willing, and able. Are you ready mentally with your mindset? Are you willing every day to implement the habits and discipline yourself within your actions that you need to take? And the skills, are you able? If you're not able, can you hire someone that is able? And so that's what I found with so many of these successful people I was interviewing. They were saying it all in different ways, but I'd really narrow down and be like, that sounds like beliefs, or that sounds like habits, or it sounds like they acquired some skills, or they sharpened their tool belt, So the values is huge, and some people tap into it without even knowing that they're tapping into it. They're operating out of that place and don't realize that they've actually just really gone in and developed a great relationship and strengthened their values. So Dr. John Demartini is massive on values. I had it was supposed to be an hour session with him. It turned into 3.5 hours, and he was just so transparent, and just he gave me everything, like just everything on the table, told me numbers, everything he's learned in his business, what advice he would share with me if he was to do it all over again. And he gave me a lot of advice within my own business and the way I show up as a speaker and a coach as well. And it was powerful session. It was one of the best sessions I've ever had. It was worth every single cent. And so I asked him, John, you've studied hundreds of disciplines, like astrology and biology and physiology and psychology and all that. And I asked him, like, what is the most important? And he said axiology, which is study of values, right? The hierarchy of values. He said he said it's the smallest book out of all of them. And he said it's the most important. So yeah, this is a guy that's read over 30,000 books. So I'm going to place bets on that one. So
yeah. It's really powerful.
Pretty cool.
It's really powerful. I love the information that he shares and the way that he presents it, because it also brings in, I found seeing him recently, he brings in a lot of the information you hear from different areas. So whether you approach life from a spiritual perspective, say through A Course in Miracles, or like through a Christian or a Catholic or a Muslim perspective, he brings in all of these different foundational points that you've heard and learnt from so many different areas. But it's like he has this really succinct scientific way of bringing it all together, and then just saying it's your values, and it's a really accessible way of getting into that. So yeah, he's pretty amazing. That must have been incredible to get to spend 3 hours with him. I could only imagine how amazing that would have been.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Awesome. So, and I love how you just touched on then about your habits and what that creates in your life. So, you hear that habits create the results that you've got in your life. So effectively, your habits are what equal your success. And with that, I mean, success could be anything, whether that's financial or how you are with your health or the kinds of relationships that you have, the people you're connecting with. We've had a question that's come in around this from one of our members, Blaine Campbell, and she's asked, what would be one thing that you'd say around habits that you can't live without? Like, do you have a personal habit that keeps you achieving at a high level each day, and what would that be?
Wow. Well, if I was to pick one, because I believe there are definitely some habits that are like cornerstone habits that are very foundational, very strong, and they link in with a lot of other things. So like fitness, self-development, health, like those ones are really key cornerstone habits that, and then you've got kind of smaller habits where it's like write a to-do list. What else is there? There's write a to-do list, like networking and, things like that. So I would say definitely I would go for one of the core foundational habits, because when you think about exercise, right, it's not only good for your health, but it also activates your prefrontal cortex and gets good blood flow. So it improves your memory. They've shown it improves your memory, right? And you've got self-development. I mean, self-development is going to allow you to increase your value through your wisdom and understanding. And then therefore you're not going to be stressing so much about your wealth. And then if you're not stressing, then it leaks then into like you've got good health, right? So there are some really core ones. I'm big on self-development. If I was only to choose one, I would say self-development. This is every day feeding my mind. I would do that, but it's never just one thing. There's always multiple things. I've got quite a few habits that I commit to, that I'm disciplined in, and that's why I'm successful at what I do.
So what does your morning routine look like? I know with a lot of our ladies, we often talk about creating that solid morning routine to set your day up for success. Do you have a solid morning routine that you might share with us? Because our audience love those practical tips as well. Right. And what does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's adjusted over time. What I have been practicing lately, what is really effective for me, that works for me, is when I wake up in the morning, wake my body up. Right. So that's whether it's like do some push-ups, do some jumping jacks, just really go for a walk, or just something where it gets the body moving, gets the heart going. Then it's 20 minutes of self-development. Okay. So 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of self-development. And what I do in that space of time is I really go in on whatever it is, whether it's watching a video on YouTube or reading a book or listening to a podcast. And all I'm looking for is one thing. I'm not looking for anything else. I'm not trying to be the guy that reads a book a day or reads 10 chapters. I don't care too much for that, to be honest. I think a lot of it's fluff. I'm not impressed by that. But what it is like a lot of what we bring in, we're going to let go of, because it's just too much for our brain to have to hold, right? So I always look for what's that one thing that I can take away from that 20 minutes. And then I get that one thing. And after I do that 20 minutes, I'll sit with it and I'll close my eyes and I'll just really think about that one thing that I learned, that one line or that one, word or that one philosophy or one quote or whatever it is, and try and tie it to an experience that I've already had in my life. And what happens is I kind of let my mind float off. It sub branches off into other ideas and I develop a deeper understanding. I call it tying the knot. You tie it in the memory bank, I do that. And sometimes I'll go and shoot like a Insta story or a video or something on it. So if I'm teaching, I'm also then relaying it over in my mind, and it's solidifying more, right? So that's a good practice. And, I'm Christian. I believe in God. I have a healthy relationship with God. And so I have, for the rest of that time, for the next 20 minutes or less than that, depending on how long I did the other things for, just, have a prayer and just sit and reflect and just be grateful. I mean, I used to meditate, and meditation, for the most part has been awesome for me to recalibrate the mind and to relieve stress and everything. And for me, I just feel like the benefits I get from prayer is like, for me, it's a very deeper connection and understanding. And I'm sitting there a lot in gratitude and appreciation. I just feel like I have a very powerful support. And yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. It's really interesting you say about prayer, because again, with a lot of the really successful leaders that I see, a common thing is they're either Christian or they have a strong spiritual belief or a faith in something greater than themselves.
Totally.
And it took me a lot to let go of those, because I was brought up a Catholic, and it took me a long time to let go of the word God and Christ and those things. And then the last few years becoming a student of A Course in Miracles, it's been really powerful for me. And I love praying, and I'll pray every day. And it's,
right,
not always something that you share with a lot of people because it's not accessible for everyone. So do you find that's kind of like a meditative space for you as well?
I've studied it quite a bit into the difference between prayer and meditation. There's a difference. There's definitely a difference. The reason being is because when you're in meditative state, your brain is active in a different way, or less active, to be honest. What's funny? Because there's different beliefs around it. And this is funny because this could also be a touchy, and I love going into touchy subjects. It doesn't bother me at all. I think it's good to discuss these things. I do know that from what I understand and what I've read is that our brains actually aren't designed to be totally quiet. Like they get the energy from running and thinking about things and connecting. And that's like when we sleep, it doesn't shut off. Like it's doing things, it's processing and doing all sorts of things. Right. So when I used to do transcendental meditation, I did that for 2 years, and that's repeating the mantra, going through that. The issue that I had with that is I didn't understand what the mantra was. I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't know what I was calling in. And it was, for me, I centered and I recalibrated my mind. But when I shifted more into prayer, it's like the feeling was so different. Like the level of empowerment, like I really feel expansive in it. And there was just something about the meditation that I felt like it was good, but it wasn't, I couldn't measure it. I can't measure it with the level that I feel right now based off how I feel with prayer. And I really believe that it's good to test and experiment and, see what works for you and just try things out. Like my whole business and my brand and everything's built off experimentation. I'm like a mad freaking scientist in the lab of life and just going in and trying things, So do your research, look into it all, like practice a number of different things and see what works best for you.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, I love that. And it's nice to hear a different perspective on it too, with the prayer versus meditation, because I know a lot of people are hell-bent on meditation, and I do both, but it's nice to hear, different views.
I think this is the thing too, and I love that you brought up about, how you were raised Catholic and you talked about Christ and church and that, like, it depends on our experiences, right? Because I was brought up Christian, and my parents weren't pushy with it, but they were also like, here is what we believe. And I kind of like went along with it because I was young and that's what you do. And then I rebelled against it all when I was a teenager, and I went out and just like went the complete opposite direction. But then I stepped back into my faith on my own terms, and I did my own research. And I believe with anything, with any belief system, there's three things that I really like go into. I like to be very mutual and to really I want to understand the world. And I think that that's what you were saying before, like John DeMartini is very much so like that. He really just wants to understand the world. He'll go in and read about science and theology, and he wants to understand everything. For me, I'm the same. I think just like that. And so there's three things that I look for when you go into any belief system, no matter what it is. It's origin, meaning, and destination. Right. And so I really go into like, where's the origin of this? Where did this originate from? Because I feel like there's a lot of things that have happened in this world where it's evolved into something else. And sometimes that evolution isn't always a forward evolution. It could turn into something that may not serve who we are, So I always look at that. Where did it originate from? What's the meaning behind it? What's the substance in that? Is there substance? And then the destiny is, where am I headed with this? If I'm a part of this belief system, where is it going? And we can only know so much. We can't tell the future and all that. But I think it's always a good thing to do that. I always question things. I'm curious. I go in and I don't want to just accept it because society says it. I want to read about it. I do my own research and I make up my own mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about following what other people do. It's like, okay, if that's how things are done, is that the best way? Is that the right way? Or
Right.
why are we even doing that at all?
For sure. Yeah.
Great. We've had another question that's come in from one of our members, and this is from Tamara Awudu, and she has asked, because she's looked into you and she's seen the great success that you've had, and that's obviously, it's a long road to success, and as your business grows, it only grows as much as you do. There are so many challenges on the path at every level, and I'm sure the challenges you face now with your business are probably a bit different to what they were when you first started. But on that path, when you were a rookie, what was the biggest rookie mistake that you made on the way to the top? Or one of them that you feel you might want to share with us?
Yeah, I love this question because there's a couple ways I could answer it. I could say, well, I wasted money on certain things, or I spent a little bit too much time on something else. But I think bottom line is this. I think that this is business in a nutshell. The first few years, you're going to be spending a lot of time, you're going to be spending a lot of money and a lot of energy trying to build this thing. I'm sorry if that scares you out of wanting to start a business, but it's the damn truth, right? It's like your baby, and you've got to give it all this attention, and you've got to make sure it's all good. It's like a toddler and then it starts to grow a little bit and gets its own legs. And then it gets to the point where it becomes self-sufficient if you're doing the right things. For me, it's really, it's been that I think I had a revelation, I think, after speaking with John DeMartini, because I realized that even though I did that 3.5 hours with him, for the most part, it was just validating that what I was doing was I'm on track. That's what I took more than anything from that session, was he was basically just showed me that I'm on the right track, and I just need to keep going and moving forward, right? More than anything. So what I would say is that a lot of your time in business and on yourself is developing a system and your way, and finding your truth and creating something that's yours for the world, or, for your tribe. And so be more about that. Be more about the idea of I'm not just going to be creating this one thing in 1 year and that's it and it's out and it's just forever bestseller, because for the most part it doesn't work like that. So right now I'm putting in a lot of legwork for the next level in my business. I'm traveling and doing an Australian tour for my Millions Online tour, right? My 2-day workshop, and I'm going to New Zealand. And then after I finish that, I'm going to be going to the US, and I'm going to Canada, and, I'm going all around the world with this. But this has been 5.5, 6 years in the making to be able to get to the level to do that, where I'm quite comfortable with that. In the meantime, I'm developing my book and, writing that right now. And with every event that I'm doing, I'm filming parts of it, and then I'm going to be packaging it into a DVD. And then I'm going to be coaching on other things like mindset and philosophy and other things like that, right? And developing products around that. So when I think about how much work is going to go into that, it's quite a bit of work. It's quite a few years of doing that. But what happens is, in the next 4 years, if I turn around and look back at how far I come, that's a very long way. When I turn around and look back at where I had come from, the first couple of years, I was like, the first year I was building and just putting all my time and energy into my business. The second year, I started investing a lot of money into my business. Finally left my day job, but still investing a lot of money. Third year, still investing a lot of money, going to events, sharpening the toolkit, increasing my belief, having to learn what's my value in this industry, how much should I be charging? I had to go through all that stuff. Now I know what I'm worth, and I have no regrets and I'm like unapologetic about how much I charge, because I know that what my worth is. I have the wisdom now and the experience, and my value's going up. So there are different levels in business. And I think that in itself, I'd love to that's the breakdown, so you understand. And I want you to kind of foresee how it goes in business, so that you don't have this like fantasy of what you think it might be. There's all that, and that's the hard work, but there's a beautiful side of it all too. You get to create, you get to serve others, you get to inspire other people in the process of creation. You get invited to, for me, 4 documentary films that I filmed for last year. I get to speak at events and network and connect with people. I get to travel around the world. Like, you get to do all these things too, but you can't just have one without the other. They have to come into play both to balance things out.
Yeah. And I guess another way of talking about that is maybe saying how it's like a marriage. You don't go into it for 1 year or 2 years or 5. It's that 30-year, 40-year commitment kind of thing. So
Right.
Looking at it, so saying, okay, create a system and a way that really solves a problem for your audience. And that's something that you deliver over time. And then that
Right.
continually progresses. You don't just start out and you're already there doing all the big stuff and traveling around the world on stages everywhere, because if you hadn't done the work that you did in the beginning, you wouldn't be able to get there and be doing what you're doing now.
Do you know how many times my old friends used to call me a pussy because I wouldn't come out on the weekend to party with them? Do you know how many times they called me like a nerd and I can't believe you're spending all this time on this? What it is? I had some of my close friends laugh at me when I put a quote up. I had like my cousin laugh at me because I had founder next to my name, like, haha, founder. And so I could have taken it in both, like, 2 ways. It's like, I could have taken offense to that or gone, you know what, I'm going to show you that I am a founder. And then I got to the point where everybody else started calling me a founder because I'm a founder. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. And especially if you have like this vision that is epic, you can't expect anybody else to see it the same way you do. You might have somebody that gets close to understanding it and they're supportive, but you're the one that sees it in color, in depth, like that. That's yours. That was a gift to you. So you just got to act on that. And regardless of what people think of you or what they think you should be doing, because if you went out and did what everybody else thought you should do, you'd probably be nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. The one who's going to create the success in the business is the one who makes it a priority, and that's their top value. And they're saying no to going out and doing other things, and saying no to those other things which are an opportunity cost, which hold you back from creating something more amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just quickly go on to when you and I caught up at the DeMartini event. You mentioned to me about your book that you're writing. Would you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Because I'm sure, it sounded really interesting when you were telling me about it. And I think that's something that really our audience would love to hear about.
Yeah, I'm excited. The book is called Millions Online, right? And at first, there's so many meanings you could put behind that, because I was offered millions of dollars for Addicted to Success quite a few times, and I turned it down every time. I was like, no, this is my baby. It's my passion. I'm here. This is the tip of the iceberg. I'm going deeper with this. Okay. Then there's, we've gained millions of followers, multi-millions of followers, hundreds of millions of views, and, impacted millions worldwide. The key here is that, like, that stuff is surface level. Besides the impact millions, that's really important. What I teach people really is, like, I've done all this and been offered millions of dollars and made close to $1 million just with Addicted to Success in itself, with the brand and company, and also, have all these followers, but like, that's not it, and so the book teaches you the strategies on how to build something with depth and meaning and how to move the needle in the world. And I feel like I have this duty and responsibility and obligation to change the conversation game, because I think people are focusing on a lot of the things that don't really matter. very significance driven, very like looking for validation. So even the title in itself is like, it'll pull people in, but then they'll realize like, hey, we're changing the conversation here. Are you with this? Because this is real. I've been there on the other side of the coin, and it's not what it's all scratched up to be.
Yeah. Awesome. That sounds really cool. And
So,
when's that going to be out?
Near the end of the year.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll keep an eye out for it. And how can our audience connect with you? How can they stay in touch?
Yeah, the best way to do that is IamJoelBrown.com is the website. And then I am Joel Brown is my Instagram. You find me on Twitter, Facebook, just type in Joel Brown, you see me there. And reach out. You know, I'm accessible. I like to connect with my fans, followers, and yeah, just to conversate and see where you're at. And you know, I've got programs and we've got the book coming out and events. So if you're in Australia, New Zealand, and you're ready to learn, to go deep on how being able to build a brand that impacts millions, then join me.
You're the man. Your Mind Strong Alliance Mastermind group. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so that's a monthly mindset coaching program. And so we have a vault of all these recorded sessions we have people like Preston Smiles, Alexi Panos. Who else do we have? Peter Voog, Jake Ducey, Mark. Like, we've got a lot of like millennial entrepreneurs and millennial speakers and coaches. They're more so people in my immediate network that I love to like bring in. They're the next generation, right? So like, you know, people like Wayne Dyer, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, they've passed away, right? And so eventually, as you see, the chain moves up. And so I really believe these guys are the forefront and the new future thought leaders. And so I introduce them to everyone in the Mind Strong Alliance that comes in. It's a monthly program, and we do like a live 1 hour call. People jump in and can ask questions, and they hear me answer those questions when it comes to mindset. And I bring in an expert once a month as well. And so you learn from the expert, you get to ask questions, from the expert to get the answers. So yeah, it's a fun program to be in.
Awesome. That sounds really great. I love the work you're doing. And that's why I really wanted to reach out with you and connect you with our audience, because they definitely resonate with a lot of what you've said. All the things we went through today, I've just taken some notes myself, and they've been, some really powerful content there. So thank you so much for your time.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Renee. I appreciate it.